The air was silent, heavy with tension, as the alien ship landed on Earth. Its surface was silver and smooth, like a mirror. People gathered near the landing zone, their eyes wide, some curious, some scared. Cameras flashed, soldiers stood straight, and scientists whispered to each other. This was not just a visit, it was history. Out of the ship walked Zara, the first alien ambassador from the planet Ithari. She was tall, calm, and glowing with a strange, soft light. Her robe shimmered in the sunlight, covered in symbols from a language no human could read. Zara's heart beat slowly but strong. She had trained for this moment her whole life. Her people had rules, strict customs, and high expectations. Everything had to go exactly as planned. She would step forward, bow her head, and offer a ceremonial phrase of peace. The human leader would then respond with Earth's own greeting. After that, an exchange of gifts would take place. That was the plan, but Earth had different plans. As she stepped forward, the crowd gasped. A man walked out of the human group, smiling. He was not in uniform, not a soldier or a politician. His name was Evan, and no one really knew why he had been chosen to greet her. Some said he had a kind face, others said he was just in the right place at the right time. Zara stopped, unsure. She expected a formal nod, a speech, maybe a respectful bow, but Evan walked right up to her, and before she could speak, he hugged her. Zara's body froze. Her eyes widened, her skin pulsed with sudden heat. Back on Ithari, physical contact was sacred. A touch meant deep connection. A hug was never shared outside the closest bonds. Around them, guards raised weapons. Alien officials reached for their translators. Humans looked confused, some laughed. Nervously, some panicked. Zara didn't move, her mind raced. Should she push him away? Should she speak? Should she respond with anger or confusion? But in that moment, she felt something strange. The hug was warm, soft, full of emotion. No calculation, no fear, no plan, just human. When Evan stepped back, his smile didn't fade. "Welcome to Earth," he said kindly. Zara blinked. She had studied 1,000 Earth phrases, but nothing prepared her for this. She slowly nodded, not sure what else to do. The human leader quickly stepped in, trying to take control of the situation. Alien guards lowered their weapons, but their eyes stayed sharp. Zara turned away and walked back to her ship. Her thoughts were spinning. That hug was now being shown across screens on both planets. On Ithari, elders watched with horror. On Earth, people called it beautiful, but no one knew the truth yet. Zara entered her private chamber and closed the door. She sat alone, hands shaking slightly. Her translator buzzed softly, waiting for a message to send. She leaned forward and spoke in her language. They have no idea what they've just done. She did not mean it as a threat, but a warning, or maybe a discovery. For the first time she felt something her species never taught her. Curiosity, confusion, and maybe even something close to emotion. She was trained to follow rules, to keep peace through cold logic. But that hug changed something. Zara reached up and touched her shoulder, the place where Evan's arms had held her. It still felt warm. It still felt strange. Was this how humans showed connection? Was this why they fought so much, but also loved so deeply? She looked at the mirror, noticing that her glow had changed slightly, softer, more gentle. She didn't understand it, but she wanted to. Outside, Earth celebrated a new era of peace. But inside the ship, Zara whispered one final thought. This mission will not go as planned. Zara stood in the middle of a glowing chamber inside her ship. The lights around her pulsed gently, reacting to her emotions. On Ithari, feelings were measured, controlled, locked behind mental training. But today, her control was breaking. The hug was still in her mind. A soft memory replaying again and again, not because it was dangerous, but because it was unexpected. She placed her hand on a silver crystal. It opened a glowing circle in the air, a portal to the Ithari Council. 7 alien figures appeared, floating in blue light, their faces calm, but their eyes filled with silent judgment. "Ambassador Zara," said the first voice, You broke the protocol. Zara lowered her head slightly. I did not move. The human made contact first. Did you stop him? Asked the second voice. Zara hesitated. No. The council chamber trembled slightly. Even from across the galaxy, their disappointment was loud. Touch is forbidden during first contact, said the third voice. You were trained to maintain boundaries. I was, Zara replied softly. But he didn't attack. He didn't threaten. He just hugged. The voices went silent. For Athari, silence was worse than shouting. Zara looked up. May I ask something? Speak. Why do humans risk emotion so freely? Why do they offer peace through touch instead of rules? The first voice leaned forward. Because they are wild. Because they are ruled by heart, not mind. Because that is why they destroy everything they love. Zara felt her glow dim slightly, but she didn't speak again. The portal closed, leaving her in silence. Meanwhile on Earth, confusion was rising. Evan sat in a small room being questioned by military officials. Commander Riva stared at him from across the table. Her voice was sharp, like a knife. Why did you hug the alien? Evan shrugged. She looked nervous. Riva slammed a file onto the table. You could have started an interstellar war with your feelings. He leaned forward. It was just a hug. Exactly, she replied coldly. Just enough to break everything. Evan looked down. He didn't mean harm. But something inside him told him that Zara needed it, not as an ambassador, but as a being, alone on a strange planet, outside the room. Earth's leaders argued in hidden chambers. Some believed the hug was a victory, a symbol of peace. Others called it weakness, a loss of control. Back on the ship, Zara sat in her personal chamber. A small plant from Athari floated beside her, glowing softly. It responded to energy right now. It pulsed in confusion. Zara touched the petals, her thoughts heavy. I should have stopped him, she whispered. But I didn't want to. Her translator buzzed. A secret message arrived, hidden under layers of code. The sender was unknown, but the message was clear. Your contact with the human has been marked as a threat to purity. Watch your steps, or your mission will be ended. Zara closed her eyes. Someone on Athari didn't want peace. Someone wanted war, and now that hug had made her a symbol of weakness, or maybe something worse. She looked into the stars outside her window. The Earth glowed softly in the distance, beautiful, messy, emotional, so different from her world. Yet, something about it felt real, more real than all her years of training, more real than the Council's cold warnings. She stood up, her voice calm but clear. If emotions are dangerous, then why does this one feel right? Rain tapped softly against the glass as Evan sat in his small apartment. The lights were low, and the city outside glowed in blues and oranges. People were celebrating, dancing in the streets. They called it the day of first contact, but Evan didn't feel like celebrating. He just kept replaying the moment over and over in his mind. That hug, her face, the look in her glowing eyes. He had only wanted to show kindness, but instead, he had broken the rules of an entire species. And now he had questions. He pulled up a holoscreen, searching for any record on Athari culture. Most of it was blocked or classified. Still, he found fragments, old translations, bits of diplomatic notes. One thing stood out again and again. No physical contact allowed during ceremonial meetings. Evan leaned back and sighed. What if I messed everything up? He whispered then. He paused. What if I didn't? Meanwhile, on the ship above Earth, Zara watched the same clip again. The hug, the surprise, and the strange thing that happened afterward. For a split second, when Evan touched her, her pulse shifted, not in fear, but in something else, something. She didn't have a name for it. Athari had no word for comfort. They had no word for kindness without reason. Everything had purpose, order, law, but that hug. It was chaos, and yet part of her missed it. Even now, she could still feel the memory on her skin. Zara opened her console and began recording a message, not for the council, not for her people, but for herself. Note 43, the human male, Evan, broke contact protocol, yet his action was not hostile. It was emotional, uncontrolled, and warm. She paused, then added, I do not understand this feeling. I want to. The next day, Evan was called to a research center. He expected more military questioning, but instead, he found Zara waiting in a quiet white room, 2 chairs. No guards, just her. She stood up as he entered. He stopped, unsure if he should bow, wave, or just freeze. She nodded slightly, a signal of peace. I requested this meeting, she said softly. I have a question, Evan smiled nervously. Sure, ask anything. She stepped closer. When you hugged me, what was your intention? He blinked. No one had ever asked a question so directly, not like that. I just felt like you looked alone, he said. I didn't know your customs, but I knew how I would feel. And I thought, maybe you needed a little comfort. Zara tilted her head. Comfort, she repeated. She tested the word in her mouth like a new flavor. Your people comfort each other with contact? Yeah, he said. A hug means safety. It means you're not alone. Zara looked at her hands. So much training, so many rules. And here stood a human who offered safety not through weapons or words, but through warmth. She met his eyes. Again, I was not prepared for that, she admitted. You don't have to be, he said gently. That's the thing about being human, sometimes. You just feel, and you act. That night, Evan walked home under the stars, and for the first time since the encounter, he smiled, but far above the earth, in the shadows of the ship. Zara received another coded message. Emotion is a crack. In the shield, the council is watching. Control yourself. She closed the message and looked at the earth below. Then she whispered softly, maybe I don't want to control it. Asterisk, the night was quiet, too quiet, beneath the alien ship. Where no cameras reached and no humans walked, a shadow moved slowly. It wasn't part of the Ethari crew. It wasn't Earth military either. It was something else, something hidden. Something watching high above. Zara stood near the ship's main window. She looked down at Earth, a world so full of sound and emotion, so different from the quiet halls of Ethari. Since the hug, something inside her had shifted. She had started asking questions. She had started feeling. But not everyone wanted her to change. Her console beeped. Another message, coded and urgent. Unauthorized lifeform detected near engine room. Possibly non-human. Proceed with caution. Zara narrowed her eyes. She activated her cloak and moved through the dim corridors of her ship. Each step was silent, her heartbeat calm, but her mind alert. She reached the lower deck, a place even her own crew rarely visited. Suddenly, a spark, a movement. She turned sharply, her hand glowing with defense light. There, in the corner, stood a figure, not tall like a human, not glowing like a Thari, something in between. The creature wore a black cloak, face hidden by a breathing mask, but its eyes cold, silver, and focused locked with hers. Who are you? Zara asked firmly. The figure didn't answer. It only raised a small device, glowing red. Before she could stop it, the figure vanished into thin air, disappeared without a trace. Zara stood still. The engine behind her hummed softly. The silence returned, but the air was no longer peaceful. Someone had been there. Someone who didn't belong to either world. Back on Earth, Evan couldn't sleep. His mind kept turning. Zara's words stayed with him. Sometimes I don't want to control it. He smiled at the thought. But then his screen lit up with a blinking red alert. His private network had been hacked. Only one file was touched, the video of the hug, but now it was edited. The sound was removed, the image slowed, and in the background just for a second Evan saw something, a shape, hiding behind the ship's ramp. Not human, not Ethari. Just watching, his heart jumped. He knew he had to tell someone. He opened a secure channel to Zara. She answered immediately, her face pale and serious. I saw it too, she said before he could speak. Evan leaned in. What was it? I don't know, she replied. But it's not from Earth. And it's not from my world either. There was a long silence. Then Zara added, "If someone is trying to destroy this piece, they won't do it from the front, they'll do it from the shadows." On a distant moon, far from both Earth and Ithari, a hidden base glowed red in the dark inside. The cloaked figure stood before a council of dark shapes. "She is changing," it said. "The human is infecting her mind," a deep voice answered. "Good, let her fall deeper. The more she feels, the easier it will be to break her," another voice whispered. "And when she breaks, so will the peace." Zara stood in a small earth garden. The leaves moved gently with the wind. The flowers released soft smells she didn't understand. And yet, for the first time in her life, she wasn't thinking about duty. She was thinking about Evan. He had sent her a message. No data, no warning, no alert. Just a question. "Can I show you what feeling means to a human?" She didn't answer. She just came. Now she waited, trying to prepare herself. But emotions were not something Ithari trained for. Evan arrived with a paper bag and 2 cups of something warm. His smile was quiet, not loud like before. Zara noticed. His hands shook a little. Was he nervous too? "You ever had hot chocolate?" he asked. She tilted her head. "No, is it a weapon?" He laughed gently. "No, it's a comfort." She took the cup. The heat surprised her, but she didn't drop it. She brought it close to her nose and inhaled. It smelled sweet. "I don't understand," she said softly. "This drink, this place, this you. That's okay," he replied. "You're not supposed to. You're supposed to feel it." They sat down on a bench. The world around them was quiet. No cameras, no guards, just the sound of wind and breath on Ithari. Zara began, "We are taught that emotion is like fire. Beautiful but dangerous." Evan nodded. "We're taught that it's like water. Sometimes calm, sometimes wild, but always part of life." Zara looked at the sky. It was turning orange. Earth's sun moved faster than the one on her home world. Time felt more alive here. "Why do humans cry?" she asked suddenly. Evan paused. "For many reasons," he said. "Pain, joy, loss, love. Sometimes you don't even know why. Ithari don't cry." She whispered. "We change colors, but we never leak." He chuckled. "You're missing out." She looked at him. "Teach me." And so he did. He didn't use books or charts. He told her stories. Stories of when he was young, when his mother died and he cried in his room for days, when he failed school and thought he was worthless, when someone hugged him and made everything feel okay. When he met her, Zara, and everything changed again. Zara listened closely. Every word seemed heavy, but not painful, just full. "I don't know what love is," she said quietly. Evan didn't rush to answer. He looked down, then said, "Love is not one thing, it's 1,000 little moments. It's when someone brings you hot chocolate. It's when someone sees you, not as a title or a mission, but as a person." Zara didn't respond, but she reached out, and for the first time, she placed her hand on his, far away, on her ship. Alarms started to blink. Someone had activated the hidden chip dropped by the spy. It began releasing waves of silent data, crawling through networks, opening back doors. It was not just a device, it was a key, but Zara didn't know. And neither did Evan, because for the first time in both their lives, they were not thinking about war, or peace, or orders. They were just thinking about each other. Asterisk, the wind shifted. The sky looked the same. But something was wrong. Zara felt it first. A pulse through her skin, like static, not human. Not Ithari, something darker. She stood on the edge of the research base, looking down at Earth's horizon. Peace had lasted a total of 8 days, and now something was breaking in the command center below. Alarms began to flash, systems crashed. Screens turned red. The Earth Defense Network was under attack. Commander Riva stormed into the room. "What's going on?" she shouted. "Unknown code," the tech replied. "It's not human-made, not alien either. It's rewriting our weapons grid." At that exact moment, Evan was laughing. He and Zara sat near a lake. He was skipping stones. She was trying to figure out why that was fun. Then her wristband blinked red. She looked at it once, then again. Then she stood up so fast the bench shook. "Something's wrong," she said sharply. Evan jumped up. "What is it?" "They've activated the chip," she whispered. "What chip?" "The one dropped by the spy." Evan's heart sank. "You said it was disabled." "I said I hoped it was." Back at the base, Riva's team was locked out of their own systems. Missiles were arming themselves, satellites turned away from the stars and pointed toward Earth. It looked like Earth was preparing for war. But no one had given the order. "Someone's making it look like we're the aggressors," Riva said. "And if the Ithari see this, they'll fire first," her advisor finished. Zara and Evan rushed to the nearest transport hub. Zara activated her direct line to the Ithari Council. But the connection was blocked, corrupted. Someone wanted her silenced. Someone wanted war. Far away in the hidden moon base, the dark figures watched Earth's systems fall into chaos. The leader stepped forward, his voice cold and full of joy. "The humans will look like the attackers. The Ithari will respond with force. And the girl? She's already too human to be trusted." Zara and Evan arrived at the central defense tower. Everything was falling apart. Ships were moving into attack position. Drones were locking on each other. People were panicking, but no one knew what was happening except her. She pushed past guards, her voice louder than it had ever been. "This is not Earth's doing," she shouted. "You're being set up." Commander Riva looked at her with tired eyes. "And why should I believe you now?" "Because I can prove it," Zara said. She pulled out a recording device from her cloak. It showed the spy, the chip, the coded message, Oblivion. Evan stepped beside her. "And because she's not lying," Riva stared at the footage, then sighed. "Get me a direct line to Thari now." But it was too late. A Thari warship appeared in Earth's sky. Its lights burned red. Its weapons were charged. Its voice echoed across the planet. "Earth systems show hostile intent. This is your first and final warning." Zara stepped forward, alone. She turned to Evan and whispered, "If I go out there, they might shoot me." Evan's eyes filled with fear. "Then don't go." But she smiled, just a little. "Someone has to believe. Someone has to stop this." She walked toward the ship, glowing softly, while far above, crosshairs locked onto her chest, and a finger hovered above the trigger. Zara walked into the open field with her hands raised. Above her, the Ithari warship hovered like a silent beast. Its red lights blinked like a heartbeat full of warning. Earth soldiers stayed behind, holding their breath. No one moved, no one spoke. Even the wind seemed to freeze inside the ship. The Ithari Council watched through a secure channel. Her signal had been ignored, her orders suspended. She was no longer their ambassador. She was now a traitor walking into danger. But Zara didn't stop. Each step forward was slow but steady. Her heart beat fast, but her face was calm. Her voice echoed across the transmission channel. "This war is not real," she said. "You are being played. You are being turned into weapons for someone else's game." The ship did not answer. Its main cannon turned slightly, now pointed at Earth's surface. Evan watched from the command tower, his fists clenched, his throat tight. He couldn't breathe properly. Not while she was standing there alone. He ran. No one tried to stop him this time, not even Riva, because even she knew something bigger was happening now. Evan reached the edge of the field. He saw her glowing against the dark sky, saw her speaking to people who weren't listening. And then he did it again. He ran toward her. Zara turned when she heard his steps. Her eyes widened in shock. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice breaking slightly. He didn't answer. He just reached her and wrapped his arms around her. A second hug. But this one felt different. This time Zara didn't freeze. She didn't calculate. She didn't wonder. She hugged him back. No hesitation. No resistance, no fear. For the first time in her life, she allowed herself to feel fully, and it didn't destroy her. It saved her. The warship's scanner picked up the energy signature between them. Two different species, sharing a bond stronger. Then protocol. The AI inside the ship paused, recalculated, replayed the moment again and again, and then something impossible happened. The ship powered down its weapons. The red lights faded to white. The message changed from warning to peace mode. Transmission from Earth acknowledged. Aggression withdrawn. Council re-engagement requested. Zara opened her eyes, still wrapped in Evan's arms. And for the first time since she landed, she smiled. Not a diplomatic smile, not a programmed one, a real one. You did it again. She whispered. Evan chuckled softly. Guess I'm just really good at hugging aliens. She looked up at the sky, then at him. No, you're just really good at being human. And somehow that was enough. Later, the leaders of both worlds would say it was a negotiation, a smart move, a last-minute correction. But those who saw it with their own eyes knew the truth. It wasn't politics, it wasn't power, it was a hug. A simple, human hug that saved two worlds from falling into fire somewhere, hidden in the dark corners of space. The enemy watched in silence. Their plan had failed, emotion had won. And for now, that was enough. Zara looked at Evan, not as a symbol of Earth, not as a mistake, but as something else entirely, home. And as they stood together under the quiet sky, Zara whispered the last words of her personal log. This is not weakness. This is understanding. This is why the stars should never fear the heart. And the stars, somehow, seemed to listen.